Good morning, everyone. Just going to wait for a few people to join us. Excuse the dogs. I think we've had a couple of deliveries due this morning and I know they're going to come as soon as I start my video. I'm afraid you're going to get the noise of the dogs. Right, I'll just wait for a few more to join before we crack on. I hope you're all doing okay. What have you been up to? Hope everyone's doing all right. Hi, good morning. I can see a few coming in. Oh, and I've got Kitty watching. Hello. Morning, Kitty. Okay, so today we're going to make floating necklaces. So we've got some beautiful kits actually available on the website. And as you know, all of this week, Totally Beads are doing free download patterns. So I know a lot of you have been making the most of it, which is nice. Hopefully gathering a bit of education to start working through, a few projects to start working through. Obviously, we're all still at home and hope you're doing okay with it all. Not too much cabin fever setting in yet. I think the weather really helps. It's been absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to go and spend some time, quite tired this week. I've had a lot going on, so I think I'm going to spend some time in the garden today. And all my allergies have come out though. I'm really congested. I think it's hay fever, but I'll see if I can get some time in the garden. Okay, I've got a good few of you here. Right, so working with Tigertail. So this is the PDF download that's available today on the Totally Beads website. If you go into the website, down on the category section, there is a little bar that says free projects, and you can pop in there, and this is for a 24-hour period. So all the ones that we've done each day, they do expire each day, and we're loading more on. So today's is floating necklaces, which gives you a really beautiful and very simple effect. So they are really delicate, very elegant to wear as well. I've got a few here to show you. So what we're talking about with floating necklaces, we're just using Tigertail wire. It's a fantastic nylon coated wire. So it's multiple strands woven together, and it has a coating on it, which means that although it's a basic core element for your jewellery, so when we string necklaces, this is what's underneath the beads, it's actually pretty enough, and you can get coloured ones as well, to actually have as an exposed element and a design feature in your necklace as well. So what we're going to do is create a floating necklace, and as you can see, when you wear them, it just gives a really beautiful and delicate finish and gives the illusion that these beads, of course, are floating. And on days like these, if you've got crystals and things like that, because the beads aren't really crammed together, you've actually got a really beautiful look, and if you've got crystals, the sunshine and the light coming through them tends to open them up a lot more, which is nice. So this is using rondelles in various different colours, and each one of the beads are suspended on the Tigertail with crimp beads. So you can go for very minimalist and very small. So you can be using all the beads that you've got, morning Judith, all of the beads that you've got in your stash, and you can see it just gives such an elegant look. I've got a couple more to show you and then I'll crack on. So there's quite a few top tips that I can share with you to actually make sure that you can make them in the most effective way. So sizing the spaces between your beads, also securing your crimp beads. What you want to do is make sure that there's no movement in the beads at all. Now, what Totally Beads also have are these gorgeous cones, and inside is hidden all of the elements. So you can have them exposed. We do have crimp covers, but if you're using things like this, sometimes just a little finishing touch with something like this is going to make a big difference. And as you can see, I've got mine a little bit tangled up here. Hold on. As you can see, and this is actually on blue Tigertail. So again, a really nice design feature. It's got a bit kinked in the post, but it gives you a fantastic finish. So if you're wearing like a highly patterned dress, or you're wearing quite a bright, vibrant top, these are really nice just to give that little nod to jewellery without being too heavy as well. Okay, so a few things we're going to need. Morning, Maria, from Malta. Oh, fantastic. How are you doing? Hope you're all safe there as well. Stay safe, everyone. Yes, thank you, and you. Morning, Tanya from Dorset. Hello. I hope everyone's got nice weather. I don't think anyone has rainy, dull days at the moment. I think we've been very lucky. Okay, so the components that I'm going to use, we did put up a little materials list yesterday anyway on my Facebook page, but I'm going to be using some pearls, and I've got some lovely faceted rounds as well. Pearls of 3 different sizes, and I've got some crystal rondelles. As you can see, it's a really nice mixture. So if you go for tonally the same sort of beads, we can just make them in nice little patterns. You're going to need a jump ring to attach your clasps, and then of course your crimp beads and your tiger tail wire. You'll need a ruler and a pair of cutters as well. So I'm just going to get a few crimp beads out. Now crimp beads are the teeniest, tiniest beads that we use. They're just like seed beads, but they are metal, and we crush them using our pliers. So I'm also going to use a pair of flat nose pliers. Okay, I'm going to turn you down, and then we'll start making. Let me know if you've got any questions though. If you do have any questions, obviously I'm going to keep an eye on the comments as we go as well. So I'm going to start with my bigger beads, and I'm going to go for the largest pearl and also my largest round faceted crystal. So this is going to give me a really nice bit of sparkle. We'll cut these off and get a nice little pile going there. And then also with our crystals. And like I said, you can use any of your bead soups for these if you've got leftover beads from projects. Of course, you don't need many because we're just floating them. So the space between them, you can have as much or as little as you would like. And so if you do have just random beads, it's a great way of making the most out of them. Okay, so I've cut 3 lengths of my tiger tail wire. They're about 60 centimetres. And I'm going to start finding... Morning, Alison. Sorry, won't be able to stay for long. Catch up later. Loving these events. Oh, thank you so much. Hope you're staying safe. Keeping busy. Okay, so I've taken a length of my tiger tail wire and I've folded it in half because we're going to start from the middle of our necklace. So rather than working from the spool or taking the exact measurements, because when you're floating them, we're going to sort of swag that detail. So you do want them to be staggered. So the easiest way is to have excessive amounts of tiger tail on both sides, make our pattern in the middle, and then of course we'll trim it when we connect it on. So what we're going to start with is a crimp bead and one of my largest beads. So because it's going to be the middle of my longest row, I want to make sure that I'm using the largest of the beads. And I'm going to move this down to the very middle. So we're starting with the center point. And then you're going to take flat nose pliers, and with your crimp bead, you just want to crush it. Now there are crimp tools available as well, which will actually squash your bead and then fold it in half as well, which does make them a little bit smaller, but you can still get a really nice effect. So I'm holding the crimp bead so that I can actually see it in my pliers, and this way, because I'm holding it with my pliers, I can actually move it. So I'm going to take it to the very center, and then I do get a little bit OCD with these. I like to crimp it so that it's going to sit perfectly in the middle of my wire as well. And then you're going to bring your bead flush up to the crimp that we have squashed, and then you're going to bring your crimp bead onto the other side as well. And again, you want to minimize the space in between because otherwise these beads would move. So we'll bring that all the way up to the front, again holding on to that crimp bead so that I can see the edge of it, so I can see where it's going. I can still maneuver and slide it along the wire straight up to the bead as much as I can. And then you'll see you've got the perfect suspended bead, no movement in there whatsoever. And then how much space you leave in between them is entirely up to you. But with a lot of the instructions, Kitty will give you absolutely everything. So she says about 2 to 2.5 centimetres. So just take your ruler. I'm going to add on my next lot of beads. So I'm going to alternate from my pearl to my crystal. And each time it's going to be a crimp bead, your bead, and a crimp bead. Bring that down, and then I'm going to measure, let's do it here, about 2 centimetres. And again, holding that crimp bead so that you can see it, so that you've got that manoeuvrability along the wire. Take it to 2 centimetres and crush. And then you can see I've got the perfect gap in between them, and that one is suspended. So when you're doing something like this, because your elements are so exposed, you can see absolutely everything that you're doing. It's really important to have a neat and precise finish, because if any of these are slightly unevenly spaced, or you know, you've done a really nice pattern and then one of them is a little bit further, that's going to be very obvious. So although it's a nice quick make, just take your time and make sure that you're getting a really professional finish with it. So again, taking that crimp bead, I can slide it all the way along. I'm going to take it up as close to the bead as I can and crush. And as you can see, you can start to get this really lovely effect. So I'm going to do a couple more. It's a very simple technique, so there isn't really too much more I can show you on these. When it comes to actually creating the second row, and I'll bring one down in a minute and we can have a little look. Let's bring this guy down. And again, holding that crimp bead so you can manoeuvre it, measuring your 2 centimetres. Ooh. Measuring 2 centimetres, crimping that down, bringing the bead up. And you'll see that I like to suspend it in my hand as well. Don't fight against the gravity of it. So I'm holding it so that I've got a slight tilt, the beads are moving down, and then I know that I've got an exact and precise finish. And as you can see, they are pretty perfectly evenly spaced. Okay, so you would continue working along both sides of your tiger tail. So obviously this bead is going to be the centre. That's going to start moving upwards, and I will then also start to bead along this side as well. Now, when it comes to doing your second row, you want exactly the same amount of tiger tail, because then when you're constructing it at the end, you've got lots of manoeuvrability. Morning, Julie. Hope you're well. Yes, thank you. You too. Hope you're all doing okay. I'm a bit sinusy today. My hay fever is kicking in, I think, so I'm trying to keep hydrated so I don't start coughing. Now, with your second row, I'm going to use different beads. So let's go down to the smaller ones. I'm going to replicate the look that we have on this one, but with my smaller beads. And then as you graduate up as well, it's nice to have bigger beads on the bottom and then slightly smaller down to your really fine ones. So just think about the composition of the piece as well. You want the nice aesthetics of it. You can even just do these using all the same beads. Have a little play with it. Get your beads out, maybe sit in the garden, get some nice vitamin D today, and have a little play, see what you can create. Has anyone been making some of the pieces from our previous videos? Kitty is going to be here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock with bead embroidery. Can't miss that one. I really love that. So that's going to be a fantastic one. So make sure you tune in tomorrow at 10. Sarah. Morning, Sarah. Morning, Sarah. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so crimp bead, and I'm going to put, let's do the pearl because they're slightly bigger than my next crystals. So when it comes to doing the second strand, just like we did before, folding it in half, making sure that those beads are going to start in the very middle. And I'm just going to crimp that into place so it's in the exact middle. And then you can sit it with your first strand. So I don't actually want there to be a bead above each other. Hopefully you can see that. Anna, morning Sarah, thanks for these videos. Oh, thank you Anna, you're more than welcome. Nice to keep encouraging everybody and all staying together. I hope everyone's having a bit of nice crafty fun time and making the most of being at home and staying safe. Didn't we have the most amazing response last night for the NHS clap? Did anyone go out onto their front doorsteps and clap at 8 o'clock? We did in the village. All of the cul-de-sac came out. We could hear roads further down the village. It was absolutely amazing, very emotional. But those guys are doing such a great job. All of the services, everyone who's still continuing to work to keep us together. It's amazing. Okay, so I've actually suspended my pearl in between the 2 beads from my previous row. So what I'm going to do is in between each of my beads from my first row, I'm going to fill that gap with the second row. So I'm not actually going to measure these ones. I'm just going to go by my first ones as a guideline. So again, taking the very edge of the crimp bead so you can see where it's going to go, moving it to the very middle of my second set of beads, butting that one up really nice and close. And you don't have to use individual beads all the time as well. You can actually use, oh, Django is saying good morning to you. You can actually use sections of beads, so you could make little clusters of them as well. For example, on this one here, if your beads are really small, then you can do little sections. You want your beads to look bigger than the crimp beads, really. So as you can see, these would then suspend really beautifully in between each other. And then on the third necklace, I'll go on the same spacing as my first one. So really nice. Sarah, yes, I clapped out of my window as off work sick. Oh, Sarah, I hope you get well soon, and well done still joining in. It was absolutely beautiful. Really nice moment here, everyone coming together. Okay, so when it comes to the end of your necklace, that's pretty much all you need to know about floating. Hopefully that's enough to get you some really nice, secure, neat and precise finishing. When it comes to the very end, we are going to use, and I've just realised I don't have any culottes in here, but I'm going to show you how to use the cones. So with your culottes, they are the little domed clamshells. When you're finishing off your necklaces using those, and I'm sure you've seen us use them multiple times in our makes, you will just thread all 3 of your strands into the very centre hinge of your culotte. Bring them all up and secure with a crimp bead inside, and you'll see that that's going to hide all of those mechanisms up at the top, and then you'll attach your clasp on. Now with these cones, they are going to give you a really beautiful and feature finish, and it also means that if you want to use more, I don't think you can get more than 3 strands of tiger tail really. At a push you could possibly do 4, but 3 I think is the most you could put into a culotte. If you wanted to do more, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strands on here. Then you want something that's going to be a lot wider to be able to house all of these as well. Chris, morning Sarah, thank you for our beading fix to keep us all sane. Oh Chris, you're more than welcome. You guys are keeping me sane as well. It's nice to have a nice little bit of structure to the day. So obviously I am at home. I am going to be at the studios next week. But while I'm at home, it's really nice still working and keeping a little bit of normality. So we're all keeping each other going. So with your cones, we're going to attach these using an eye pin. Now I'll just get my round nose pliers. When you are using these, we're going to hold the eye pin inside, and what we're going to do is attach all of them onto the wire at the bottom. We'll do it the other way around. So I'm going to make a larger loop on this one. Now when it comes to turning a loop with your eye pins, I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and normally we go by the same size of an eye pin. So to get uniformed loops on your eye pins, you would put your eye pin onto your plier, mark that point. You could do it with a pen, or obviously you could just use it by eye. So it's probably about 3 mil down from the top, and you would use that depth of your plier, because as you can see it gets wider down at the bottom. What I actually want to do is create a much larger loop. So I'm going to trim off the eye. You could even use a head pin and take the head off. You just want a thicker wire. And I'm going to make a much larger loop because I want it to house, for example, on that multiple necklace we had 8 strands. I want it to hold all of them. So I'm going to hold the wire flush to the top of my pliers, and I'm going to turn a loop. So I'm holding my hand flat, and I'm just going to rotate it round, let go, and turn back to flat. Sometimes I see a lot of people making loops and they kind of twist all the way round. You're going to twist your wire if you do that, so you won't get a perfect finish. So let's go a little bit further down. So I'm going to create a loop, back again and back again. So tiny little movements. And as you can see, that's given me a perfect circle, but it's more like a P. It's not on top. We want it as an I. So you would then pop your pliers into the middle and just bend that upwards. And that's now given me a much larger loop than we have on a pre-made eye pin. And I would be able to fit a lot more of my wire on there. Now you can even make this more of a coil. So I'm going to do, just so that it overlaps a little bit, round that bit off. So I now have a double coil, because I don't want any of my wire coming out of that. And this is going to be hidden as well. So it doesn't need to be particularly neat, but it does mean that I don't have any break in that eye pin. That is perfectly closed. You could also do a wrapped loop. And then what you would do is take your multiple strands once you have finished them. So you finish all of your necklace, and then we're going to secure them onto the pin. So we would thread on a crimp bead, go up through the pin and back down. Thread that crimp bead through onto your tail of the wire. And I like to suspend so I'm kind of pushing the crimp bead up with my thumb, which gives me a lot more workable area, and then you can just slide it on. I'm going to move this up. Now, when you're securing your crimp bead here, don't do it so tight so that you get that sort of rigid finish. So you want it to have a little bit more movement, which is going to give you a nicer and more fluid finish to your necklace. So I'm going to move that down so I just have a little bit of a gap. So as you can see, my pin is still hanging. Crimp that, and then you can trim off any of the excess tail. Make sure you leave a couple of millimeters, because if you do have any stress on the necklace or it starts to move a little bit, if you cut it really close up, then the likelihood of that of that wire coming through the crimp bead is quite high. Angela, where is the PDF found? Okay, so pop onto the Totally Beads website page. On the left-hand side, you can see all of the categories. So that's where you would go in to find your crystals, your pearls, your findings, whatever you're looking for. Click on there, and then that's going to open up a whole drop box of categories. And along there is a section called Free Projects. And if you click on there, you will have the download, add it to your basket, check out, and that will get emailed through to you. Okay, so we're then going to take, once you've added all of your strands, so if you are making this one, you're going to repeat that 8 times over, and then you will take your eye pin and we'll pop it into the cone. So you'll see I've now got exposed wire up at the top, and your loop will be inside, and then you will just round this off as normal. So let's bend it to 90 degrees to hold that all in place. Make sure that there is nothing underneath. Angela, thank you. You are welcome. And then we're going to cut and leave. I'm going to do a bit of a larger loop. I don't want the top of the cone is actually quite large, so I don't want to make a really small loop because it will just fall through. So I'm going to keep a little bit more than 1 centimetre, which is what we would usually have. I'll do about just over 1 centimetre, only by a couple of mil. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers. Gemma, looking forward to using this time to craft as I've not done any for so long. Oh yeah, me too. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'll have a look at the rest of your message in a minute because it's hiding it from me. So again, we're just going to repeat that loop up at the top as well, holding that pin flush to the top of the pliers, and then I'm going to repeat that process. So we're going to loop it round, and that is then going to house this perfectly on top of my cone. Obviously you won't do this until you've attached all of your strands, and that's going to keep all of that really beautifully hidden, but it means that you can have multiple strands and have all of those all of those findings securing it hidden inside. So the cones are a really beautiful finish. When it comes to turning loops, the reason I say about holding it flush to the top, just give you one more top tip while we're still here. A lot of people that I teach as well, Dorothy, love the cone ends. I know, they're amazing, aren't they? It's going to give you a beautiful finish. With any multi-strand projects as well, not just floating necklaces. When I teach and I'm asked about turning loops, a lot of the time people get more of a shepherd's crook. And that is because you're not curling and looping all of your wire. If you have some wire that is exposed up at the top, you're not going to get that lovely finish. So for people who are turning loops, if you have wire coming out the top, that is going to give you that shepherd's crook finish. Okay, so make sure that the neater and the less gap that you have up at the top completely, hi Joe, completely flush to the top of your pliers. You are then going to be curling all of the wire, which will give you a perfect circle rather than a shepherd's crook. Angela, my Sarah Millsap kits are coming today with a new toolkit. Oh, fantastic. I really hope you love it. Let me know once you've got them as well. And if you're enjoying them, thank you so much, Angela. Yes, I had a Totally Beads show on what day was it? On Tuesday. I had Tuesday morning on Create and Craft, and then we repeated it on Wednesday. There was a little gap in the schedule. Someone couldn't make it in for the jewellery shows. So we ended up having a little double beading fix this week. So thank you so much for all your support with those. The shows were super busy, and had my beaded rose on there as well, which was lovely and very popular. Catherine, some really useful tips. Thank you so much. You are more than welcome. It's a nice simple technique this morning, but something that we all have in our stash: crimp beads and a bit of tiger tail. I'm sure you can raid your cupboards and have some fun today. Dorothy, hopefully mine too. Oh, lovely. Yes, Simon and Kitty are doing a fantastic job, and everybody at Totally Beads in the warehouse, of keeping going. The orders are still coming in, the orders are still going out, and they are doing a fantastic job of keeping everybody safe. Most of the office staff, or all of the office staff, apart from Kitty and Simon, are working from home as well. So thank you so much, Kitty and Simon and everyone in the warehouse, for keeping all of the orders going, because I know it means a lot to everybody. Okay, so that's my top tips for today. Joe, yes, my toolkits are coming today. The bracelets and the rose dome, can't wait. Oh, guys, you are going to be so busy today. Please pop on to the Totally Handmade, Totally Beads Facebook group. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people in there. It's a place where you can share pictures of what you're working on, your finished projects. If you need any tips and guidance, Kitty and I keep an eye on the page all the time, so if anyone has any questions, we can answer you pretty much straight away, because we get the notifications through on our phone. But please let us know what you're making, let us know how you're passing the day and what you've ordered, and let us see the finished results as well. I had so many people share pictures of their bicone flowers from Monday's video, which is so lovely, and it keeps us going as well, as designers, and doing these videos for you. It lets us know that you're enjoying it, and also that you're getting something from it. So Kitty and I are going to work through the schedule for next week. We're going to keep the Facebook Live videos going because we've had so much love for them, which is really lovely. So we're going to keep those going next week. Let us know if there's anything you would like to see. I had a couple of not orders, requests. Had a couple of requests for chainmail weaves. I'm going to get on that for next week for you. So keep tuned, and keep tuning in, keeping each other going, and sharing the beading love. Tanya, that's had jewellery block. Now I have. Oh, I think you might have pressed return too early on that one. Let me know what you mean. I think you had jewellery block. Was your mojo gone? But now you don't. Welcome back. Joe, thanks, Sarah, helps a lot. You are more than welcome. Thank you all so much for tuning in this morning. Kitty is going to be here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock doing embroidery. And then on Friday, she's going to do, on Sunday, she's going to do multiple strands with focal beads, which is really nice. Oh, I did have something else to show you. Should we do it quick? No, I'll save it for another video. I'll let Kitty do her multiple strands because there's a little top tip on that one. I might do an extra little video. Okay, thank you so much. Angela keeping me saying, yes, me too, Maria, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Lovely to see you all this morning. Stay safe, and I will see you next week for more videos. Join Kitty in the morning. Thanks, guys. Take care.